My second game of the year, number 2 in these top 5 games of the year-ish, belongs to a little game that you've never heard of before. Came out this year. It's a small title by a small indie developer. It has never made a... I'm just kidding. It's Metroid Dread. So, Metroid Dread came out this year. And in terms of a modern-day take on the classic Metroid style, holy shit. You know what? I'm glad? I'm really glad that I experienced Super Metroid before this game, you know? So I can have a little bit of perspective. Because the funny thing is, because I do not have the influence of like nostalgia behind me, because so many people experienced Metroid in the 90s, right? So it's a huge foundation of like being a part of people's childhoods and discovering gameplay stuff and doing all the crazy stuff it does. I don't have that. So to me personally, which is why it's posed above Super Metroid, I actually like Metroid Dread more than Super Metroid. And that really isn't that weird, considering that the way the combat is in this game, the way like the traversal is, the way you can approach stuff and intentionally sequence break things. To me, so much of like Metroid Dread is fucking awesome. Like, it's so goddamn cool, and it feels so good to lock these things and go from area to area. There's only a couple of times where it does become, because the map is so big in this game, there's just like so much you can do and go to, that it does get a little daunting, but not to the point where it feels detrimental, ever detrimental to the experience, because this game is the epitome of like, you're going to get a new thing, you're going to utilize this new thing in this way, and the game's going to show you how to utilize it in combat as well, and that's great, man. That is so much fun. And not to mention, one of the first things that happen, and this is the true sign of a game that, like, when you play through it, you're like, oh, dude, this is some of that good shit, is when you beat it and you immediately want to play it again. That's like, to me, that's immediately a sign of a game that is probably going to stick with you for some time. And as soon as I was done with Metroid Dread, I immediately fired up the hard mode and then ran through the hard mode and just like, okay, now that I have a little bit of map knowledge, similar to a Resident Evil game, now that I have a little bit of knowledge of like point A to point B to point C, back to point A, you know, that kind of thing, you crit path the game and it's just fun as shit. I know exactly how to take out this enemy. I know exactly how to do this. If that process doesn't feel, like you're just repeating the same steps and all, you know, the game is kind of dry at this point. If that feels like that's like, oh, I get to approach this with a new mindset and do things differently, goddamn, man, that's a significant thing to games, in my opinion. And to me, Metroid Dread executes that beautifully. It's so much damn fun to return to and fight enemies knowing how to use counter mechanics, fight enemies using specific weapons and unique like weaknesses that you didn't know that they had before. I'm not even talking about the crazy stuff with like the Kraid fight, right? The crazy stuff where you revisit boss fights and you can essentially one-shot them with a bit of like luck and timing. I just mean like engaging the game in ways that was different from your first playthrough. Metroid Dread is really good at doing that. I give the game a lot of praise in the same way that I gave Super Metroid a lot of praise. All that experience and discovering traversal, unlocking stuff, and going throughout the game piece by piece by piece, and experiencing the map in like the 10 different ways the game presents the map to you, like visually, right? Just in terms of visual design, super good. Like, ridiculously good. I think the game's art style at times is a little lacking. I think that's like my only gripe, is that at times the visual aesthetic of like the Chozo environments and everything that you sort of run through can come across as a little lacking in like punch, but not to the point where I feel it's like a detriment, you know? The music, I thought the music was okay. To me, it's like some of the even the Super Metroid themes, I think people just have a lot of like nostalgia for, and a lot of that makes some of that music really stick out to a lot of people. I'm curious if I solve this puzzle. Come on, man. Am I gonna get this here? Hold on a second. Let me just see. This is a good. 10 tryer until you know actually how to do it. Because I'm doing it the hard way right now. This is one of the things that I loved about my playthrough. I solved all of these puzzles incorrectly, chat. I did them all the puzzles can be done like 2 or 3 different ways. I did all of them the hardest way you possibly could. There was significantly easier ways to approach these things. Every single time one of these popped up, I discovered the most difficult way to do it and then executed that most difficult way. And thinking that was the right way. I was like, whoa, what? And the funny thing is the same exact thing happened in Super Metroid. Like the same shit happened where it's like they designed these puzzles to be multifaceted. And that's really smart. It's like it was specifically a thing that was in Super Metroid that they sort of like tailored for this game to make it. Now we're just going to let you do that, but give it even more and even more and even more. This game just really comes across as like a giant love letter to Super Metroid in general. Because this is like, once again, one of the last like traditional Metroid games that has existed in like, what, like 20 years or something like that. It's been a hell of a long time that a traditional like relatively high budget 2D ass Metroid game has existed. Like the last one was on 3DS or something like that, right? Technically a remake. Fusion was the last new one that actually existed. And you know what? You did it. They did it. With the playing of Super Metroid in 2021 and with the completion of this game, the multiple playthroughs that I did go through on here, I think we did a hard mode, I think we did a normal run, and we might have also had done like a fast as possible. I don't remember if we did, but I did play it through multiple times. I became a Metroid weeb this year. It's true. It happened. That doesn't mean that I want to immediately exhaust every single other thing that would make me the ultimate Metroid weeb. I don't want to do that immediately. But I think that the revisiting of games that I haven't played before, specifically Metroid Fusion and the Metroid Prime series, which I barely have any experience with, is something that I would now actively be looking forward to when there's more Metroid stuff in the future, because clearly this did pretty well. It reviewed pretty well and got plenty of Game of the Year noms from a lot of folks. And Nintendo's definitely going to be paying attention, or at least we would like to think they are. So I'm looking forward to that moment where we can go back and play Metroid Prime, at least Metroid Prime Run, and Metroid Fusion, because I'm ready to become a Metroid weeb all over again. If you have a Switch and you haven't played this game, what the hell are you doing, man? Oh my god, what the hell are you doing? You have to go play this game. You have to go play it.